we have a 2010 Hyundai Genesis. Has a 4-cylinder 2.0 turbo. I've always liked the style of these cars. I've never actually driven one until actually bringing this car into the shop, let alone drifted one. So what we have going on with this car and with this job now is we're doing a new clutch job. The owner went and bought a ACT clutch kit, and with the pressure plate disc and everything, flywheel, pretty much a friction kit to change it out, which is pretty much this piece right here. So essentially what it'll do, it'll just go ahead and bolt on right onto the flywheel. ACT clutch. We are also going with a transmission and differential fluid change. We have the throttle bearing here. And then they also want me to go ahead and do the serpentine belt. So a lot of work to do in the car. Nothing that is impossible to do. It's all pretty straightforward. Right here we have my buddy's David Riggins' G35. This car is a complete badass in my opinion. No shortcuts were taken when he was building this car. So to me, I can't wait to actually get this car done. My buddy got stationed in Germany, and while he was in Germany, he left the car here in Denver with one of the local drift teams / shops, and their intentions was to get it done with a 2JZ. They're in the middle doing a Pro 2 build for one of our local drivers that recently got their Pro 2 license, so he can go ahead and compete in FD. So being that car is taking priority, this car was kind of put a little bit on the back burner. So now it's gotten to a point to where I was like, you know what, why don't you just bring the car here and I'll try to see if I can get some progress made on the car little by little as we go. So as you can see, he bought the 2J. When he first bought it, we opened up the bottom end to do the oil pump, and we noticed there was some metal in it. So he went ahead and dropped it off the machine shop, did all the works to it. Wiring harness already kind of routed. Not all the way, but for the most part. And then I'll have to go through all these boxes, which is these 3 totes right here, to try to complete and get the car to a close to running state. That's a job, or those are the videos pending coming up later on. As far as my car, the BRZ, I went ahead and picked up this motor, which I already went and took off the twins off of it, took off everything that I could. And what I'm doing with this one is I'm gonna take off the heads, take off the sump, pretty much check the condition of everything inside. If the engine looks like it needs to be rebuilt, I'll go ahead and take it to the machine shop, knock all that out. But once this is all said and done, then I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling the trigger on getting everything in order to I could go ahead and drop that in the car. So a lot of good stuff coming with that engine. I can't wait for that, so I can actually start getting my car back on the road. Stay tuned for that. All right, so we're gonna start with this car first. We're gonna go ahead and start with the easiest thing, which will be the differential fluid change. So you see you have the drain plug here, and then you have the fill plug up here. Both of them are 24 millimeter. So pretty much what I got is my breaker bar and a 24 half-inch drive. And pretty much I'm just gonna go ahead and crack the top one first, just get that loosened up. Oh yeah, you could definitely see how burnt this one is already. Differential already drained out. The drain plug is already back on. So for some people that might have better clearance on their different type of vehicles, you might get away with just pouring the bottle straight into the diff, maybe. In smaller cars and tighter cars, sometimes you have to get some type of like transfer pump, something like this, which you can get this like an AutoZone for like, I think it was like 15 bucks. So pretty much one end will go into the diff, the other end will go into the bottle, and then you just pump it until either the bottle runs out or until the differential or whatever component you're using it for fills up. Alright, once you see that steady flow of fluid coming out, it pretty much tells you already at the fill point. So at this point you can go ahead and just shut it down. So in the spirit of doing all the easy stuff first, I'm gonna go ahead and change out the friction plate on the flywheel, and then go ahead and we're gonna knock out the serpentine belt as well. But at least for being underneath the car, I did do the easiest thing first, which was the differential. So yeah. What we're about to do next is go ahead and do the serpentine belt in the front, and then that's pretty much all the stuff that's easy. Then comes underneath, removing the transmission, changing out the clutch, and then go ahead and do the transmission fluid change while we're at it. So all right, so I had to put the camera down a little bit so we can get some charge. In your absence, I already went ahead and did the serpentine belt and dressed everything up front. The next plan of attack is to get underneath the car, remove the drive shaft, drain all the transmission fluid out of it. Go ahead and remove the rod, the shifter rod, so we can get the transmission pretty much almost as ready to get out as possible. Once we get to that, we'll go ahead and jump to the starter, anything electrical that might be in the way, as far as like the reverse light, harness, and all that good stuff. I've taken out the exhaust. I started removing some of the bolts already. I'm gonna have to just take this piece off with it on the front and back. I already went ahead and undid the bolt that does to shift linkage. And transmission cross member is already loosened up. So it's a carrier bearing. So now we just gotta keep on going. All right, so we're pretty much at the point where the transmission is almost ready to come out. We have the shift linkage already undone. We got the drive shaft and the exhaust, everything's already removed. Up here, only thing left to do is take off the lines to the slave cylinder. But we got pretty much everything done. Starter's already off and kind of like tucked away and out of the area, because where the motor mount is, it pretty much captures the starter, so it's kind of hard to get out. We have all the electricals off. We have all the bell housing bolts on the driver and the passenger side already off. We have the reverse light cable harness or whatever already off. And then the last thing I took off was this, looks like a positioning sensor or some type or whatever, but it goes in the transmission. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tuck that away. So yeah, so the only thing left to do right now is undo the lines for the slave cylinder. And then once that's off, pretty much the transmission is ready to come out. As you can see here, the transmission is already out. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't too hard. The hardest part of, in my opinion, will have to be the top tray, pretty much above the shifter, where you have these little pins, one on each side. And each pin has this little piece right here that kind of locks in. And it's kind of a pain in the ass to get to it with just like regular flat tips. You just gotta keep on prying and get into it, whatever. But once you get that out, the transmission, the entire job itself is pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So right now it's time to remove the old clutch kit, get everything out, flywheel and all, and then go ahead and throw on this new one and get everything lined back up. Alright guys, just a little bit of an update. So at this point, we already got the new lightweight flywheel already on. What we're doing last, and what we're going to do now is pretty much go ahead and change out the throwout bearing on the transmission and change out the line and everything. And that will pretty much be the last step before we go ahead and put the pressure plate and the clutch and all that stuff on the flywheel. Clean it all up, then put it on, my bad. And then throw the transmission back on. You even have to do that. The little rubber grommet already had a little slit in it, so I didn't have to bother taking it off. Oh, well, you learn as you go sometimes. Alright, so the clutch kit is already on. The slave cylinder or the throttle bearing is already on the transmission, so the only thing left to do is throw everything back together. Alright, at this point the car is all done. She's all wrapped up. The exhaust is back on dry shaft. All the fluids have been changed. The clutch is on and everything. The only thing left now is pretty much clean the tubes up, take this out, and see how she does on the road. The plan right now is to give it about maybe 50-60 miles of driving to see how the clutch feels as we're driving. If I find any issues early, I bring it back, knock it out. After 50 miles, you know, it's not the recommended 500 that everybody always goes for, but it's at least something to find out. If there's any issues, we can detect it within that time frame. All right, so as you guys can see, we're in the car right now. The car's all wrapped up. Now what we're gonna do next is just pretty much give it about a good 40 to 60 miles, depending on what I can feel, but see how she does on the road. The goal with this is to try to find out if there's any issues that I might have to bring the car back to the shop and pick it back up and do something all over again, or is the car fine the way she is? And usually within the 40-60 miles you can probably find out something of that. Now where I'm at right now, it's a lot of kind of open land, so it's gonna be a lot of just drive, but I kind of want to get it into more of a city, you know, kind of area where I can stop and go as much as possible, so that way I can go ahead and give the clutch as much as engagement as I can. And no, this is not breaking it in for the owner. Again, this is just mainly for me. If something's gonna happen, I'd rather it happen while I'm driving it and on my own, so therefore I can just bring it back to the shop and correct whatever I have to. And if I do find something, then it's not like the owner already had it, you know, and had to bring it back, and it's an inconvenience after that point, because now they have to get rid of the car again for X amount of time for me to fix it. That way I'd rather just do it all at one shot. So if something does go wrong, I can go ahead and correct it and fix it myself. No issues, no worries there. But at the same time, if I can get the car done today, then, you know, kudos. You know, technically I'm on vacation right now. I don't even really feel like working, but I've been telling my buddy for a while that we'll go ahead and knock this job out. So this is why we did this job today. So far, like I said, everything on this car feels really good. The car is slightly modded. I know she does have BC Racing coilovers on. She does, I guess, like, I'm not sure if the factory, they come with hard pipes for the intercooler system, but this one, I guess, got converted over with an HKS blow-off valve. It has a full exhaust. I'm not sure if these cars come with big brakes. I know I did see some Brimbos on these, and then I also saw some drill and slotted rotors. So little things that make this car an awesome daily driver. You know, like you don't have to spend this much money into it, or you don't have to do that many parts into it, but overall the car feels really freaking great. Yeah, so my question is, it kind of goes out to the public, or however many people watch this video, is why don't more people use the Hyundai Genesis as a drift car? I mean, that's always been a question of mine that I've always asked. These cars look really, really good. They're stylish. I dig them a lot, and maybe it's because they look a lot like the BRZ and the FRS chassis. There's a lot of similarities in the body styles, and that's probably why I like it as much as I do. But I've always wondered why you don't see these cars, why you don't always see more of these cars as drift cars. Like, I think like these cars would be pretty badass if, you know, if someone converted it into like a drift car. It doesn't even have to be a full time. It could be, you know, a daily / drifter, you know, just a little funky racing car, but you don't see them. I mean, it is a rear-wheel drive car. It is a 4-cylinder 2.0 turbo. So she makes great power. She feels really good. She's responsive. Yeah, so that's always been my question. I mean, like, feel free to like leave comments below and what you think on, or what your opinion is on these cars, on why people don't use them as drift cars as much as, you know, like the typical 240s, BMWs, you know, Miatas or whatever. And let me know what you think. Yeah, the clutch is like really early engaged. Alright guys, we're about 13 miles into the trip, and there's nothing that I've noticed out of the ordinary so far. I just wanted to go on record and say that I love this freaking car, man. I think this car will make an awesome drift car. I mean, like if everybody was to kind of get away from spending all the money in the world for these 240 chassis or whatever, and probably spend some money on these cars. I mean, they're probably still pricey. I don't know what they go for. But if you can find one manual, 2.0, you know, 4-cylinder turbo or whatever, I feel like these cars will make an awesome addition to the drift world. Or maybe they already are out there. I just haven't noticed and I haven't seen them. I don't know. But like in all reality, I feel like these cars will be great for it. I can kind of feel why maybe some people will kind of veer away from them. Yeah, it's turbos or whatever, but there's nothing really there in the torque department. I mean, it takes a while for the car to get up and go, and for the turbo to kind of build the boost or whatever. I'm thinking maybe that can be resolved with, like, if you know, you kind of just get like a tune on it, kind of open the car up a little bit more, give a little bit more throttle response, and I think that this car will be freaking ideal, man. I mean, maybe I'm only saying this because I miss my car so much, and driving this car, again, I kind of feel like I was back in my car for a little bit. Yeah, I'm kind of like driving a stick shift car to drive, if that makes sense. So, yeah, like I said, overall, man, like I feel like these cars will freaking do great. If anybody was to ask me for my recommendation on a drift car, and bring this car up and be like, what do I think? I will honestly say yes. I do recommend turning one of these into a drift car or whatever. There's a WRX behind me. I guess he's trying to race, but can't, buddy. But yeah, so I mean, maybe one day in the future I'll actually get permission to actually drift this car to see what it can actually do, so that way I can actually know if it's actually worth it or not. But just by driving it and the way it feels and how well it feels right now with just a few miles that this car has, I feel like this car will do pretty freaking great. This is going back to the situation if I feel a Genesis will make a good drift car. These seats have like zero support. Like you can pretty much slide from side to side in these seats. Another thing that I will feel as far as the drifting aspect goes is this handbrake. The handbrake location is too close to the armrest to where I feel like for the people that use the handbrake for initiation as opposed to clutch kicking or whatever, I feel like that handbrake will be what everybody fights the most, just because the position will be super weird and awkward. And then again, it goes back to that torque dip too. Like it goes back to where you can have the car floored and the car is barely, you know, built in speed. Now granted, I haven't driven a stock one to know if this is something that they come out of the factory with, but this one itself, it could be something maybe like they're tinkering around with the car and maybe there's something that they put on that, you know, contradicted what the cars, you know, can do, or maybe they didn't do it right, so there's a little bit of an issue. I don't know, or maybe that's just where the car is. That'll probably be like the only things that I feel like. And again, this is just me driving the car on the highway. I'm not drifting it, I'm not clutch kicking it, I'm not doing anything. I'm just cruising it and I'm finding these little things out. But it's just, you know, the seats, not that great. The location of the handbrake will probably be my biggest pet peeve if I was using this car as a drift car. That would pretty much be you're solely relying on clutch kicking to initiate, and at the same time, just maintaining the floor all the way down, keeping your RPMs up, hopefully just being Wi-Fi the whole time. The car is done. The car feels great. I left the car wash, and then when I jump on the main roads, these people don't like, on a road that's 40 miles an hour, people are going like 80. So I kind of like threw myself into traffic and, you know, floored a little bit. And I guess this car has an issue when, if you overbuild boot, she kind of just goes into limp mode. So I had enough speed that when she went into limp mode, I just let it cruise into neutral to the next gas station. And right there, I was looking at everything, because normally it feels like how the car feels kind of boggy, like when a discharge pipe comes off. And I looked for everything. Everything was great. Everything was intact. So I turned the car back on. She turned on perfectly fine. She had throttle response again. So I called the owner and I was like, "Was this a pre-existing fault?" She's like, "Yeah, you can't do that. Like, don't build boost past a certain point or whatever, else pretty much the engine just goes limp." So yeah, so I guess the car would need a tune. I guess that kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier about a tune will open this car up and make it more live. So yeah, all in all, this car was really great. It came out nicely. It's pretty much a success. So if I had a rate on a 1 to 10 on whether I feel like what kind of, you know, like drift car this car will make, I'll probably give it around a good 7, to be honest. Like, the handbrake is an issue, and a lot of people, especially new people that are starting off, they start off with handbrake initiation. So going into having somebody forced to learn how to clutch kick could probably be a deal breaker for some people. But yeah, other than that, the car is really good. I would highly recommend it to anybody that's trying to build a drift car and may or may not be on the budget. I don't know. Yeah, if anybody out there has one and they're watching this video, let me know what you think of how you set your car up and how you feel the car does at a drift events or whatever. I'll kind of like to know. All right, later.